On a gray afternoon, thick with rain and routine, a quiet man using the name Daniel Rourke stepped onto a short-haul commercial flight with nothing that distinguished him from the dozens of other passengers except the weight of intention sitting calmly behind his eyes. And when the cabin door sealed and the engines began their low mechanical hum, no one noticed the subtle way his shoulders relaxed, as if a long decision had finally been carried out. Because crimes like this never begin with panic or chaos. They begin with patience, with silence, with a man folding his hands neatly on his lap while the aircraft lifted into the clouds and the world below shrank into something abstract and manageable. And as the flight attendants moved through the aisle with trained smiles and plastic cups, Daniel waited, watching the cabin lights, listening to the pressurized air hiss softly through overhead vents, feeling the measured passage of time as something he could finally control. And when the moment came, he did not raise his voice or show urgency. He simply handed over a note, written carefully, deliberately, each letter pressed with purpose, informing the crew that he was in possession of a device that could end every life on board if his instructions were not followed. And the note did not tremble in her hands, because it was clear, calm, and horrifying in its certainty. And in that instant, authority shifted, not with shouting or violence, but with quiet dominance. Because the most terrifying power imbalance is not enforced by weapons alone, but by the knowledge that someone is willing to disappear after what they are about to do. And as the aircraft diverted course under his control, Daniel sat back, lit a cigarette with hands that did not shake, and stared out the window at nothing in particular, as if already separating himself from the consequences, while on the ground officials scrambled under fluorescent lights, phones, ringing voices, clipped and urgent negotiating with a ghost who had already planned every step. And when the ransom was delivered and the aircraft refueled, when the passengers were released unharmed and the sky outside turned black and bottomless, Daniel prepared for the final act, checking straps, adjusting weight, calculating wind and darkness, not with bravado, but with grim acceptance. Because redemption was not his goal, and survival was not guaranteed. Only escape from a life he had already judged and found wanting. And as the rear stairs lowered into the roaring night and freezing air tore into the cabin, the crew watched from the front, frozen by orders and fear, hearing only the thunder of wind and the pounding of their own hearts. And then he was gone, swallowed by rain and darkness, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions, a scattered trail of money, and a myth that would grow heavier with every passing year. As investigators reconstructed fragments under harsh desk lamps, debating whether he lived or died, whether the jump was an act of brilliance or despair, whether the calm man in the suit was escaping into freedom or falling toward judgment. And decades later, the case remained open, not because of hope, but because of discomfort. Because society does not like endings that deny accountability. And the truth that lingered was not about money or hijacking or vanished evidence. It was about a man who believed he could step outside the rules without paying the final cost. And whether he survived the fall or not, the life he left behind was already destroyed. Because secrecy corrodes, guilt compounds, and no amount of planning can outrun the weight of a single irreversible choice. And the silence he left in the sky became a reminder that some mysteries endure not because they are unsolvable, but because they force us to confront the uncomfortable truth that not every crime ends with justice in handcuffs. Some end with questions that echo for generations, demanding we look inward and ask what desperation, pride, or quiet rage could drive a man to vanish into the storm, believing that disappearance was the same as absolution. Sometimes, one wrong choice can destroy a lifetime. Learn from their story. Choose kindness, choose life. This was just the beginning. The most mysterious and shocking crime stories are still ahead. Subscribe to Crime Flow Narratives and be among the first to uncover what comes next.